had a problem getting a good image of the cover for Getsu Fuuma Den. Every single picture I could find, including ones from auction sites where they just photographed the box, made it look like the picture had been blown up from 100 by 60 resolution. And then there were a couple that had completely different images for the cover. Then I finally noticed the seam along the edge of the box. It turns out Getsu Fuuma Den has a lenticular cover. One of those where there's two images that alternate in and out depending on what angle you're viewing it from. As far as I know, it's the only Famicom game with a lenticular cover. And I think that means I'm going to have to upgrade to a box copy at some point. Getsu Fuuma Den's a bit of a weird one, since if you asked me to pick out 5 Famicom games that got a reputation outside of Japan despite never being released outside of the country, it would probably be at the top of the list. When I got my first Famicom, it was one of the big games I was looking for. In this game, you're Getsu Fuuma, one of 3 samurai brothers who controlled the world in the far future. Unfortunately for you, the Demon King Ryu Kotsuki has revived, and he starts doing what Demon Kings always do. The 3 brothers ride out to confront him, and only Fuuma survives. So now Fuuma must fight through the demon-controlled world to get his revenge. Getsu Fuuma Den is often compared to Castlevania, though I think it's an unfair comparison. Fuuma is far more agile, and he has a large non-linear world that he has to explore, and find key items that will let him access new areas with his abilities. So yeah, it's kind of like a Castlevania, but I'd go with Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Okay, there's fewer objects to collect, but they do affect how you play. The key to Getsu Fuuma Den is you walk around on an overworld map, and when you collide with something, you switch to a side-scrolling action stage. And that action is pretty good. The stages aren't too long, but there's an awful lot of them. I played about 15 different ones when recording this video, and I didn't quite reach the 1/3 mark of the game. The bar in the upper left is your sword strength, and as you gain experience by defeating enemies, that bar will increase, and you'll do more damage. Even with a weak sword, you can do something. Enemies get stunned for a second when you hit them, and it's possible to time a follow-up strike exactly right so that you keep hitting them, but they can never hit you. I couldn't quite get the timing down myself, so it seems like it takes a bit of practice. There's 2 things you'll pick up when you defeat an enemy. This spirit ball, which refills a little bit of your life, or a money bag. Naturally, some of the huts that you find in the overworld are stores. There you can buy items to help you out. To use an item, you pause the game by pressing start, and then you press the B button to cycle through attack items, and the A button to cycle through defense items. When you unpause by pressing start, whatever you have selected is used. All of the defensive items are consumables. The potion has a pretty obvious use, and this flaming sphere surrounds you with balls that destroy enemies that get too close. Most of the attack items are permanent. They're new weapons with special effects for you to use. The sole exception to this is the cloak. It makes you invulnerable for about 4 seconds. Not nearly long enough for how much it costs. Your first goal in the game is to get an attack item from a store. You'll have to beat a few stages first and then head south to it. There you can buy the rock-crushing sword. Without it, you can go a long way, but you'll get blocked off eventually. As you might expect, the sword is used to smash rocks. With it, you can get this drum. It's your first long-ranged attack. It'll be weaker than your sword, but still very useful. With those items in hand, you go to this hut, and there you fight a boss to get an island pass. The boss arena is a stage, and so you can just walk off the edge of the screen. You probably don't want to do that. The other pickup I saw were these dolls, which are extra lives. I saw them placed with level hazards, but even this one down a pit is useful because you can grab it on the way down and effectively refill your life. That brings me to my biggest problem with Getsu Fuuma Den. While the visual design is great, I also feel like it doesn't necessarily tell you what's dangerous. These things look like background vines. They're actually spikes that hurt you. And trudging through this stuff hurts you as well. A little bit better signaling on those hazards would be nice. When you get a game over in Getsu Fuuma Den, you're given a password, but you can also just continue. Using the password or continuing costs half your gold. So a useful tip is if you want to quit for the night, make your big purchases first. Unfortunately, I didn't get to the first-person mazes, but I wanted to mention them because there's an item that's supposed to be used to destroy enemies in the first-person mazes, but if used outside of combat, it destroys the wall and lets you wander outside of the play area. It's kind of infamous for breaking people's games. So this is winding up being a short video, but that's because Getsu Fuuma Den is so straightforward. It's a good-looking game, it's fun to play, it's got great music. It really is one of the top Famicom games that we didn't get in the US.